So you understand that having a good discovery is more important than doing some like tricks in objection handling. But maybe you don't really know how to do the discovery well, so I'm going to give you some tips for that. All right. So first of all, you want to understand the objective situation in the discovery, which means just within his business, like, is he making the correct amount of revenue? Does he have the right margins? Does he have the right specifications for your service or product? Is the timeline okay? Things like that. These are important things that you want to figure out more or less from the start. Okay, obviously you want to have like a good introduction first, and you want to make the prospect feel welcome and have a little bit of rapport. But then, you want to dive into the discovery, and this is where you ask these questions about his current situation. Right, so that is like the objective part of it. Once you figure all that out, now you know, well, is he qualified? Does he have the right specifications? Or is it going to be difficult, or is it not going to be a fit? This is going to give you a better grasp on the situation because you'll know that, but this will also help your prospect because he will also know that. Right? Now, when you have a good fit, objectively speaking, now the most difficult part is going to be the psychology part, and this is really where the close is made or lost. It's mostly about your ability to deal with his psychology and to interact and lead him in a way that your service might help him. Okay, so here is where you ask questions about what does he personally value within his business? What are like problems that he has? You figure out the objective part, but then you also figure out the personal part, the psychology part, like what does he not like about it? Because that's important. It's not just all objective, it's specific to the person. So then you figure that out. And then you can say, well, hey, you have this pain point, this specific pain point. My product would be able to help with that. Right? Usually it's better if you are able to ask that in a question, because that makes the prospect think about it himself, and what he says and what he thinks is more valuable for him than what you say, because you are a new person to him and he doesn't trust you yet. All right, this is a mechanism that you can read about, or maybe you already know it, but just quick intermezzo. So, right, you want to figure out the pain points, and you want to show him or guide him to realizing that this could be something that could be solved or could be better with your product or your service. That's an example of the psychology. And then you really try to find as much as reasons within his current situation. You just try to learn more about it, and you learn all these specific pain points that could be improved with your service or product. And this is where you really need to be consultative. So you're working with your prospect to understand his situation, right? And you're trying to understand the annoying parts that you could help him with, okay? So this is like the pain points for him personally, psychology-wise, that you're trying to solve. Another important part is like his mindset, okay? Because sometimes you might need to challenge the way he is thinking about something. Maybe he thinks, maybe that's too much work. He might say something like that, but he might not realize that, yes, maybe this could take some work up front, but it could actually make things more efficient and more profitable for him. So you might need to challenge on like mindset, right? This is something that's also important, because you don't want to, especially if it's a service, you don't want to take on people that you're not going to be able to work with, because maybe they don't have a good mindset, or maybe they're not a right fit, or maybe they're not entrepreneurial enough. So these are things you need to work with. Psychology, the pain points, the mindset. These are really big points. I'm going over them quickly now, but they are really big points. And a lot of sales is about being able to become better at probing that and guiding that, right? So I would say the objective situation, does it make sense objectively? Then his personal pain points, psychology, what does he want to get from his business, what is important to him, and then his mindset. Is he thinking about it the right way? Has he tried things in the past and like why has he failed in that? Work through that. Once you have all those things, right, now he'll start realizing, well, maybe this could be a solution for me because I have these annoyances or these inefficiencies in my business. Or maybe I should do something better. Maybe I should make a change for the better. And these things like have been really annoying to me. Like not only objectively, it's a good service for me, but also like some things I personally want for my business that's going to get better with your service. So then it's like, well, it probably makes sense to do that, okay? And he might actually say that at that point, yeah, maybe that kind of makes sense. But now, right, here is where you prevent objections, right? Because you don't want to pitch him and then be like, have him say, I need to think about it. You want to think about that beforehand. It's going to give you much more control of the situation. So this is where you prevent objections by getting more commitment from him. So this is where you ask questions like, why now? Why is it important to you now, though? How much longer do you want to have this current situation? Are there any other people that might be affected by this? Like, it depends on your offer. Like, don't just copy that. But these could be good questions depending on your offer and depending on the way you sell. So this is really where you build commitment and a little bit of urgency as well, depending on the situation. You want to prevent objections here. So, maybe you also want to be able to ask something like, why is now the time for you? And why aren't you just going to double down on what you're currently doing without making an effort to make a change, just like most average local business owners in the space, right? That might be a good question to ask. You want to be able to ask questions like that to prevent objections, right? Maybe you also want to already find out more about the partner, depending on the objections you would usually get, right? Now, after a good discovery, your prospect should be in a state of, I don't really feel happy with my current situation and I want to change things. And they should feel like a little bit frustrated or annoyed with their situation. This is where you pitch them. The pitch is important as well because you want to portray confidence that you're going to help him with that, right? It's all about transferring emotions in a good way. And now, if you do things properly, if you check in with this situation, you see if it makes sense beforehand, and you pre-handle objections before you get to the objection handling part, then things are going to go like a lot smoother for you. And now you don't need to worry that much about objection handling, and you have a much more efficient process now. So if you master this part, then that's going to help you a lot. And you're no longer going to feel that you're just like forcing your prospects to buy. You're actually working with them to see if it makes sense for them. And you'll feel a lot more professional as a salesperson or as a business owner. So I hope this video was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions or anything you want me to work on, like anything you would want me to make a video on. And I'll see you guys next time. Have a great one. Cheers.